So, good day, everyone. Welcome to this presentation on climatology. My name is Delatore Mariel A, and I'm excited to share with you and over and also to discuss to you the fascinating science that studies Earth's climates and how they form, how they change, and why they matter to all of us. So, before we begin, I'd like to thank you for taking time to join this discussion. Over the next hour, we'll explore the fundamental concepts of climatology, the difference between weather and climate, the elements and factors that shape our climate, and the pressing issues of climate change. And we'll also touch on the tools scientists use, the impact on human activity, and how we can mitigate or adapt to ongoing changes. So let's dive in and discover what makes our planet's climate and how we as global community need to pay close attention to it. So on this slide, you'll see the objectives of our discussion. So first, we will explain what is climatology. We will identify the key elements and factors that influence our climate, such as temperature, precipitation, and atmospheric composition. And we'll also describe the major climate zones around the world and um, also we will discuss climate change. And um, how we promote environmental sustainability by highlighting potential solutions and mitigation strategies for climate change. So why are these objectives important? Because understanding the science behind climate excuse me helps us make informed decisions about resource management, policy making, and our daily lives. So it also empowers us to adapt or to mitigate changes that we can um, that no changes that can affect everything from agriculture and water supply to public health and infrastructure. So by the end of this presentation, I hope you'll have a clearer picture of how climate shapes our world and how we in turn shape the climate through our action. So, climatology. So, climatology is essentially the study of climate, long term weather patterns and trends, so over extended periods, typically spanning decades, centuries, and it is not just about at looking out the window and saying it's sunny today or it's raining. Instead, climatologist examines data over large time scales and broad geographical areas to understand the average conditions and the variability in those conditions. So for example, place like Seattle in United States, which is famous for its rainy and overcast conditions. A climatologist wouldn't just note that it's raining today, or um, they would analyze 30 or more years or 30 or more years of rainfall data to conclude that Seattle's climate is generally cool, wet, and cloudy for much of the year. So, climatology overlaps with various scientific fields, including meteorology, geography, oceanography, and even economics and social sciences. So, because climate can impact global markets, migration, and public health. So, the study of climatology also helps us understand climate change, both natural variations and current human driven changes. So, one takeaway while weather can change day to day or even hour to hour, while climate, on the other hand, is the average. pattern over a long time. So this distinction is crucial as we move forward to understand forward in understanding how and why our planet's climate is changing. So, many people use the term weather and climate interchangeably, but there is really a huge difference between the two of them. So, weather refers to the short term atmospheric condition, such as sudden rainstorm or a sudden rain, a sunny afternoon, a snowy morning, so it can change rapidly sometimes in a matter of minutes or hours, while climate, on the other hand, describes the long term average of weather patterns. So often um, looked at over 300, no, 30 years or more. So um, it's the big picture of what you can generally expect in a region. So, for example, you might say it's hot summer day in here, Cebu. So that's the weather for today. However, if you were to describe the climate of Cebu, you'd note that it's not typically hot and dry throughout much of the year with a very little rainfall and scorching summer temperatures. So, why does this distinction matter? So, when we talk about climate change, we're referring to shifts in the long term patterns. So, not just a random cold day in a normally warm location, but people sometimes confuse a single cold winter with the absence of the global warming. But climate is about trends, not single events. So another key point is that extreme weather events like heat waves or droughts can become more frequent or intense if the climate is changing. So it's vital to monitor day to day weather and long term climate data to see broader trends. So, next, let's talk about the scope of climatology and what exactly do climatologists study and how far reaching is this field. So, studying atmospheric processes. Climatologists look at how the atmosphere interacts with Earth's surface, oceans, and biosphere. So, this includes understanding phenomena like the greenhouse effect, cloud formation, and seasonal patterns. Next is to monitor the weather patterns and long term trends. So, they collect data over decades to centuries to see how weather patterns evolve. So this helps us identify if a certain region are warming, cooling, getting getting wetter, or experiencing more drought. Next is human activities. So human activities is a big one. So human activities like pollution, deforestation, and industrial processes have a profound influence on the climate. So climatologists study how greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane accumulate and alter the global temperatures. Next is the interaction with the other disciplines. So climatologists often intersects with the um, oceanography, which is the study of the sea surface, temperatures, and currents, and also geology, which is the study of the ancient climates in ice cores and sediment layers. Biology is to see how ecosystems adapt or shift, and even social sciences, which is to analyze human responses and policy decision. For example of this is when studying in coral reefs in the Pacific. So climatologists might work alongside marine biologists, oceanographers, and even economists. So they might measure sea temperature changes, assess coral health, track ocean currents, and analyze the impact on local fisheries. So the scope of climatology is enormous because climate influences everything from the distribution of plant and animal species to describe uh, species to the design of the building and roads. So understanding this interaction is key to predicting future conditions and planning for them. Next is moving on to the elements of climate. So they are the measurable components that define the overall weather, the climate patterns in region. So the main elements include temperature. So temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of the atmosphere. So for example, the tropical regions um, temperatures can remain constantly above 20 degrees Celsius or 68 Fahrenheit year round, whereas polar regions can stay below freezing for much of the year. Next is this should be the kuan manunta ni precipitation, but I forgot to kuan edit it, so kanina lang. So precipitation. So this refers to moisture falling from the atmosphere, such as rain, snow, sleet, or hail. So, for example, the Southeast Asia experiences monsoon rains with heavy rainfall for several months, while deserts like Sahara Desert receive minimal precipitation annually. Next is humidity. So the amount of water vapor in the air which affects how moist or how dry it feels. So high humidity can make hot days feel much hotter, while low humidity can lead to dry conditions. Next is wind. So the movement of air caused by differences in atmospheric pressure. So for example, trade winds in the tropics influence global weather patterns, like local winds like sea breeze can affect the coastal communities. Next is air pressure. So the weight of the air on the Earth's surface, high and low pressure systems influence weather patterns and can bring about storms or fair weather. So all these elements interconnect. For instance, when temperature rises, it can increase evaporation rates, which can influence humidity and potentially lead to more rainfall. By understanding these elements, we can get a clearer picture of what drives day to day weather and long term climate. Next is factor affecting climate. So, why is that some regions are hot and humid while others are cold and dry? So, let's explore more about factors that affect climate. First is latitude. So, latitude, regions near the equator receive more direct sunlight, making them warmer. So, in contrast, areas near the poles receives less direct sunlight, resulting in cooler temperatures. For example, the tropical zone around the equator typically experiences year-round warmth and ample rainfall, leading to lush rainforests. Next is altitude. So higher altitudes generally have cooler temperatures. So air becomes thinner and holds less heat as you go higher. Even near the equator, high mountain regions like the Andes in the South America can have snow-capped peaks.